Well, let's talk about the Euros, man. Because honestly, I have to say, guys, right? I've really loved this tournament. Like, I've absolutely loved this tournament. Now, I love international football, period. I said that on SDS when we did our preview. But I love international football, and especially the Euros, because A, I got no real horse in this race, and B, which also allows me to kind of like view it as a neutral, right? And I'm just on my appreciation arc. But also B, I always say, and I think people everyone is saying it now, right? Even though I've been saying this, international football is like the last remaining remnant of the football that I grew up loving and like admiring. And bro, the tournaments and football, I'm gonna sound like a mad old head here, but like back in my day, that's what the kind of football we're watching right now in this tournament is. Why do I say that? Well, international football, it's tough to really game plan for. A lot of these managers, I would say most of these managers, are not really guys that you would attribute as like being top level club managers. And that's because tactically, they're probably not on the same page as the best club managers. But what I like about international football the most is the fact that these managers only really have like 4 times a year where they really get to be with their squad and try and implement something, which means that there's not a lot of time on the training ground to really teach tactics and really have like this complex tactical scheme. So you're not really going to see a team like Brighton under De Zerbi at the Euros, because quite frankly, no manager has as much time with his players on the training pitch to game plan like De Zerbi did with Brighton. And while the game might not be as tactical, and I know a lot of people like the tactical chess aspect of modern day football, you often get a bit more chaotic of a style. And for me, again, like I said, who's purely watching this through neutral view, the chaotic style makes it more entertaining. It's unpredictable. And also, I do feel like the chaotic style allows more space and allows more time for the best individuals to kind of shine through. And this is why I always say international football, right? When you look at the best players of all time, most, if not all of them, have done it at international level. And this is where you get people saying, oh, Zidane, he wasn't consistent at club level. No one used to care about that, because at international level, which is where we used to judge the best players in the world, he was consistently for France top dog. Some of his biggest moments ever didn't come for Juventus on match day 20 against Cagliari. It didn't come on match day 6 or in the Copa del Rey against Levante. What can you do in the World Cup final? What can you do in the Euros? What can you do against Brazil? That's what we would judge Zinedine Zidane off. I'll look at guys like Maradona. Maradona, you know what? He has that Napoli stint, which boosts him crazy, because what he did for Napoli is crazy. But even if he never had that Napoli stint, we'd still be calling him one of the greatest players of all time because of what he did for Argentina in 1986. Pelé, similar. Zico, Platini. They all had solid club careers, good club careers, but their international legacy is kind of what puts them at that level. Why is that? Again, because international football is really where you kind of separate the great players from like the elite level individuals. Another thing too is that you can't really choose the national team that you're given. And that goes for and against some players, right? Because some people will say, well, how can so-and-so do anything with this team? They never produce good players. But then when a Gareth Bale does what he did with Wales for all those years, it makes it even more impressive, bro. It makes it even more impressive. The reason we were so harsh on Messi all those years, yeah, he wasn't gifted brilliant Argentina teams, but sometimes that's the ultimate test of greatness. What can you do when the chips aren't all on your side of the table? When the odds aren't all in your favor? What can you do? That's what makes his last World Cup so brilliant. He finally got it done with a team that probably wasn't the best squad in the world, but that's really where you're tested as an individual. So, in short, that's why I love international football so much. And this tournament, man, the long shots, the flair, the underdogs, the storylines, the young players that are really emerging and taking this tournament by storm. I've loved it. I've loved every single minute of it. And you know me, I have my favorites. So this is again why I love international football, because I kind of go into these tournaments and I don't have any like stake in any horse. I don't particularly care about any of these teams, but I really like individuals. So I'm watching Germany to watch Jamal Musiala, who, if you don't know, is my favorite player in the world. And that's not me saying that recently. I've been saying that for over a year now. I love watching Jamal Musiala. We'll talk about him more down the line though. I love watching Lamine Yamal. He just gets me off my feet. So when Spain play, I'm particularly watching him. I love watching Kylian Mbappe. When he's at full force, I think he's the most devastating footballer in the world. So I'll watch France with an eye on Kylian Mbappe. Who else do I really like? Kobbie Mainoo. If Kobbie Mainoo starts playing for England, best believe I'm tuning into every single minute of England. And I'm supporting Kobbie Mainoo, which in turn makes me want to see England do well. So I got little, I've invested stocks in individuals rather than teams. In every single team, I kind of have a guy that I'm looking at saying, entertain me, excite me, take this tournament by storm. And some of these guys have not disappointed. I'll tell you someone who I didn't have on my radar, but after this week is 1000% a player I'm keeping an eye out. I knew he was talented. No question about it. I've known this player is a top talent. Hell, Real Madrid don't sign you if you're not that good. But Arda Guler, this kid's not just good. This kid's not just great. This kid is special. This is a special talent. And I said it on BR. I said it on the eye test. Rodrigo's position is in jeopardy. And I was saying that with a mind really on Mbappe. I had a mind on Endrick, who's coming. But don't sleep on Arda Guler, because that right-hand side, that left-footed, like, wand of a left foot. I mean, you can't help but think of Mesut Ozil, but wow, this kid, man, like, when you talk about natural talent, it was on full display against Georgia. And by the way, that was one of the games of the tournament, right? Turkey versus Georgia. And often, I think when we look at knockout football, we kind of like, okay, let's see when Spain plays, let's see when Italy plays, let's see when France plays. But this tournament, what's been so beautiful about it is that some of the best games have come where you would least expect it. Where you'd least expect it, man. For example, Croatia versus Albania this morning. Wonderfully entertaining. Till the last minute entertaining. You look at Romania versus Ukraine. Bro, Romania balled out. You look at, what was the other one? Turkey, like I said, Turkey versus Georgia. That for me is the most entertaining end-to-end game that we've had at this tournament. So Euro 2024, it has not failed to excite me and entertain me 1 minute. And if anything, it's probably the bigger teams that have kind of like put me to sleep at times, bro. England's performance was boring. England's performance against Serbia, look, they got the job done. And at the end of the day, if England go on to win this tournament, no one's going to remember in 20 years that England had a boring 1-0 win against Serbia on match day 1. But it wasn't convincing. And everyone who's seen my Instagram posts, my TikTok, you guys know how I feel about England going to this tournament. There's a lot of red flags in that starting 11. And I'm sorry, that game against Serbia didn't do anything to make me a bit more confident about that side. Nor Gareth Southgate. France, I think most people's big favorite going into this tournament. Again, they got the job done, and that's really the story of France at the last like 5 or 6 tournaments, right? They don't really play that great football, and this is why I used to have massive beef with Deschamps until I kind of just accepted the fact that this is who he is, his team's gonna win, and I just have to be okay with that. But again, it wasn't vintage France, and Mbappe had moments, right? The quick feet for their opener, which is an unfortunate own goal by Austria, who, by the way, Ralf Rangnick, I think individual quality told, but tactically, I actually think Rangnick bridged the gap between Austria's talent and France's talent, because they should be nowhere near each other on a playing field purely based on paper. But France weren't brilliant either, man. And if it wasn't for 33-year-old N'Golo Kante, yeah, N'Golo Kante, I remember him. I think a lot of people writing him off before this tournament, but he just kind of showed that class is permanent. France could have been in trouble if it weren't for N'Golo Kante. Saliba, a very, very shaky international tournament debut from you. I look forward to seeing kind of how you progress from that. And then Portugal, another huge favorite, needing a 94th minute winner from Conceição, son of former footballer and former Porto manager. A last-minute winner from him. Portugal huffed, Portugal puffed, and it looked like they weren't going to get that winner. Ronaldo had a few chances. I didn't actually think he was that bad. I didn't think he was that great, but there were bigger culprits on the night than Cristiano Ronaldo, in my opinion, namely Bernardo Silva, who, yet again, I'm a massive fan of Bernardo Silva, but never really seems to be able to translate that over onto the international scene. I actually think the substitutions, bringing on Neto, which I think should have been done earlier, bringing on Conceição, which I wouldn't have really said myself, but provided the spark. And I think Painha is going to have to be someone that features a lot in this tournament. I think the shape that Roberto Martinez kind of entered into this tournament with, this 3 at the back, 2 midfielders, and one of them is Bruno playing deeper, I don't think that can fly for the rest of the tournament. But they got the job done, albeit unconvincingly. Which leads us to the 4th quote-unquote favorite for this tournament. And I know Spain are great. Italy did their thing. Netherlands did way better than I expected. But realistically, the 4 favorites are Portugal, England, France, and Germany. And Germany, I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, they are the most convincing team at this tournament. They look so confident and so cohesive and so well organized that 2 games into this tournament, if I were to put money, if I were a betting man, which I'm not, but if I were a betting man, I'd be putting everything I own on Germany to win this tournament. Everything just looks Rolls Royce. Everything just looks like they're just strolling through the motions because they just know they're better than everybody else. Talent-wise, they're sensational. I mean, where do you even start? This front 4, right, of Kai Havertz up front, Wirtz on the left, Musiala on the right, Gundogan as like a 10/8/false 9. It's just a joy to watch, man. Honestly, the amount of movement both on and off the ball that these 4 kind of have in a 90-minute game. As a defender, I would feel like hopeless because they're just dragging you in and out of different positions that you don't want to be in. You're a center back marking Kai Havertz. You're being dragged left, right, forward, leaving space in behind for Ilkay Gundogan to kind of take those advanced positions. Musiala is not playing on the right. Don't get it twisted. He might be starting out there on some moves, but he's finding himself in those narrow areas. Florian Wirtz is moving as he wishes. And the four of them just have this synergy and this footballing IQ. Forget about all four being wildly talented footballers, but the IQ level of all four of them, they're four individuals, but as a unit, it's like a living, breathing organism, man. And as a defensive unit, if I'm Hungary and if I was Scotland in the first game, and if I'm any team coming up against them, they are a nightmare to defend. And it's no easier when you have Kroos pulling the strings in behind them. You have Kimmich kind of coming to these inverted roles to play passes as well too. Andrich is kind of just the rock in midfield. Rudiger and Ta in the back are just athletic freaks, and they can press so high up because you know they have the recovery pace. And even if they don't get it, you have Manuel Neuer, who's the ultimate sweeper keeper. This German team is unbelievable, and it leaves you wondering how the last 4 or 5 years have been so bad. But that brings us to, for me, what is the ultimate X factor at this tournament, and that is Julian Naglesmann. Now, I'm sorry, chat, it's not even a competition. This guy is quite easily the best manager at this tournament. It's not a competition. And if it were, he'd wipe the floor of it. The way he has this German team ticking, man. Oh my God, the patterns of play. Like I said, the movement on and off the ball, the shape, the press, everything about this German team is executed perfectly. It's German efficiency. That's what they're known for, right? But it's German efficiency with like this newfound flair that we haven't seen in ages, man. So you're combining the tactical nous of Nagelsmann. You're combining the elite young level talent and excitement of guys like Wirtz, Musiala, the know-how and the steel of guys like Kroos, Andrich, Rudiger, the home crowd kind of being on their back every single game. And on top of all of that, just the confidence, man. I haven't seen Germany this confident and oozing this style in years, man. And all of that just kind of builds together the perfect recipe for a trophy-winning team, a tournament-winning team. And I don't want to kind of write them as winners too early, right? Because let's be honest, teams grow into tournaments as well too. And teams can also burn out quite quickly as well too. But off the basis of 2 games, Germany look like the team to beat right now, man. Germany looked like the team to beat. And I just kind of want to single out one guy. Gundogan for me was man of the match today. I saw someone saying I didn't think he was that good. I thought Gundogan was brilliant. That was even before the game, the goal. I just think he's such a smart player, man. One of the most underrated of his generation. But the one for me that is just taking this tournament by storm and really making it his own is Jamal Musiala, man. Wow. Talk about restoring the feeling, bro. Talk about a throwback player. A player that just makes you fall in love with watching the game. A player that makes you smile every time he touches the ball. A player that kind of just gets you on the edge of the seat, raises the goosebumps on your, raises the hairs on your neck, on your arms every time he gets it. Always wants to make something happen. Is developing that eye for goal as well too. And kind of has the perfect platform behind him, on either side of him, in front of him, to just kind of do what Jamal Musiala does best. Invent, create, take risks, be brave. Look, we all have our preferences, right? Some people love Jude Bellingham. Some people love Mbappe. Some people love Vinny. Like, these are all brilliant players. These are all, for me, the best players in the world. But if you can't at least admire what this guy is doing on the biggest stage right now, you're never going to enjoy football, man. Honestly, like this is one of those guys, right, that just, it's not complicated. I sometimes think with football, some people look at players and they overcomplicate things. Like, ooh, his center of gravity is this, or like, oh, how efficient is he in the final third, and what's his expected assists, and is he creating enough chances? Like, sometimes you really, all you have to do is just look at a player for 5 minutes, and you know what kind of talent you're talking about. And with Jamal Musiala, you're talking about a mercurial talent, man. You're talking about one of the greatest young players that this game has to offer right now. And when I kind of named a few of them, right? Jude was amazing for England. Musiala was amazing for Germany in that first game. Arda Guler was amazing for Turkey. I thought Calafiori was really good for Italy, and I tweeted about him. People were saying, how can you compare him to those guys? I'm not, but I'm saying his match day 1 performance was brilliant for me. Like, so composed coming out of the back. There's so many more, right? Like Saka on the right. Mainu is eventually going to come to that England team. Gakpo, I thought, was really good for the Dutch. Xavi Simons, I'm sure, will keep growing into this tournament. Like, it's just a really good time for football at the moment. Because I think the last thing you want to see is kind of like a new generation come in, and you look at a few of them and you're like, are they that good? And I do feel like there has been a lull post-Messi and Ronaldo, right? Mbappe is brilliant. Neymar did his thing. Erling Haaland is a goal-scoring extraordinaire. Like, there are great players post-Messi and Ronaldo, but I do feel like there has kind of just been like a gap since they've taken a back seat. Brilliant players, but the product as a whole, for me, isn't as fun to watch as it was during the Messi and Ronaldo era and before that. But I do really believe that this new crop, this new gen, is restoring that feeling, is bringing the feeling that, like, wow, every time they get on the ball, they want to make things happen. They're exciting. They're dynamic. They score goals. They create chances. They get you on the edge of your seat. Games are exciting to watch for me at this Euros. So I'm very, very happy seeing who has the keys to this generation and who has the keys to this sport for the next 10 years. I really think that we're in for a good next decade when it comes to football. Because I'm not even talking about the likes of Endrick, Estevao, Lamine Yamal, Chelsea, what's his name, Kendry Paez. Like, there are some really, really top young players in the game. And I think some of them, we haven't even seen glimpses of them yet. I think that's how brilliant they are. So I'm really happy with this Euros, man. Honestly, I'm enjoying it. It's exciting. Also, shout out the underdogs. Like I said, Romania, Slovakia getting that result against Belgium. Don't get it twisted, right? 99% of the time, if that game gets played 100 times, that result probably only happens one time because Lukaku on that day was just a disgrace, to be honest with you. But still, give them massive credit, man. They defended for their lives. They were gutsy. They took their chance when it fell to them. And look, you got to bury teams away. So for that alone, Slovakia are good for their win. Slovenia getting a big point against Denmark. Turkey, who I came into this tournament saying, look, I'm apprehensive about Turkey because I've seen them go into tournaments as dark horses. I thought they looked really good. Albania, to be honest, I know they only have 1 point, but they've taken the lead twice this tournament against teams that probably no one gave them a chance. They've looked really good as well, too, and I'm sure one last win on the final day against Spain, they'll be going through. That's easier said than done, but that's what we're kind of looking at. So I just think this has been a really good tournament, man. Good young players, good underdog stories, a team that has kind of taken the tournament by storm right now. And the football as a whole is just exciting to watch, man. It's really just exciting to watch.